Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with Emmett Muckles. Please, absolutely, you must do this. You must go to iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, all these places, and let me know that you're listening by sharing it with a friend. Also, leave a comment. Say, hey, Emmett, your voice is great. Hey, Emmett, you sound like you have a cold. Emmett, something. Just let me know that you're out there. Here's another thing, too. So I'm getting to this point where I'm running out of ideas. I'm telling you. I'm just going to tell you. And I don't want to just think of things out of the air to give you guys. So here's what I would ask you to do. Send an email to emmettmuckles.com or go to the contact page at emmettmuckles.com. The email is info@emmettmuckles.com, or you can go to www.emmettmuckles.com, find the contact page, and say, Emmett, I would like to find out more about XYZ. It could be crypto. It could be why my wife won't have sex with me, why my son plays video games, whatever it is of dealing with your adult life. I want to talk about that. I want to find out. I want to help you out. And I always bring guests who are great solopreneurs, conscious creators, people who can give value to your life. And I'm doing the same thing today with Robert Slattery. Now, Robert Slattery is a speaker, consultant, real estate broker, and author. His book, Math Wins, goes more in depth around the 7-step process to achieving financial freedom through owning and rental properties. We were talking about this pre-show, so I'm going to let you guys know a little secret. He's been in the real estate industry for over 20 years, and he knows that his process works. We were talking about this. So I'm telling you, I'm giving you a precursor. He owns over $7.5 million in real estate and has helped dozens of his clients hit the 7-figure net worth to be able to live the life they want. You hear that? I want you guys to take that in. Live the life they want, because his people have found out what they need and then go, okay, that's what I want. And he helped them to get that. Roberto, how are you today?
Thank you so much. What a great intro, man. Nobody's talked that big about me. That was great. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on the show.
So what got you into real estate?
Great question. I hate giving up my time to other people, and I don't make a very good employee. So I got into real estate like so many people do. They think, well, gee, that looks like it's easy, and realtors make a lot of money and they get all this free time, and so I'm going to get into that, and that's not actually the whole story. The whole story is I used to work in IT. I was a tech geek, and I
could see
dropped out of college.
We're done. I could see that.
No, man, I went to school for tech geek stuff, and I got a job in tech, and I landed my dream gig. I was working at a little software company in the Seattle area. I will not name it, but I was in my early 20s, working my butt off. I was working really long hours. 80 to 100 hours a week some weeks.
At 20, you would be drinking and finding, partners.
I didn't have time for that. You know what it was? I'm going to tell you what it was. I don't remember the specific date, but it was around 2000, year 2000. You, I don't know how old you are, but you were probably still in grade school then. No. But I woke up around 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was in the computer lab where I was working, lifted my head up, and I had a keyboard impression in the side of my head. And I thought to myself, I haven't seen the sun in over 2 weeks. all I did was work. I was fresh into my career and I wanted, I was on fire and I wanted to make a lot of money and live the big dream and all that. But I hadn't seen the sun in over 2 weeks. And forget about dating, forget about having fun, all that. I was just working all the time because the only way to get ahead was to work more, right? You work more, you make more money. And then someday, right. So someday you get to where you want to be. And I started to realize, I was 21, 22 at the time. I realized I was going to die in my 40s of a massive heart attack if something didn't change.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward a few weeks and I was out in Denver on a family vacation and I was hanging out with an uncle of mine out there. And this guy's life was the opposite of mine, Emmett. He slept in till he felt like waking up and getting up in the morning. He drove a new truck. I'm a truck guy. And so every couple of years he would drive his Chevy pickup truck down to the dealership and be like, well, the tires are a little low. So why don't you sell me one of those? Because they have new tires on those new trucks. And he would write a check for that.
Yeah.
And this guy, he would travel, he would do whatever he wanted. He lived in a huge house, like 6,000 square foot house on a big piece of land. And I looked at this guy's life. It was the opposite of mine. And I was trying to figure out how he did this.
I have a question though. Let me interject.
Yeah,
how old was this guy that you were taking note of?
Mid 50s.
Okay.
Early 50s.
That's important.
Legit.
Go ahead.
It turned out that he had these wonderful people called tenants who lived in apartments that he owned. Yep. And they gave him money every month to live the life that he lived. And so I saw that and I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do that. And that planted the seed. That made me want to get into real estate. So when I came back home to Seattle, I started learning everything I could about real estate. And I finally left IT in 2003, late 2003, to get into real estate full time with the desire. I don't want to sling houses, man. I don't want to be walking up and down the grocery store aisles, handing out my cards saying, hi, I'm Robert. I'm the hardest working realtor in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. I understand that.
No, I wanted to learn the investment side of the business, and I've done pretty well, but I'll tell you, I've made some very expensive and very painful mistakes along the way.
But that's very important for you to make those mistakes because that's the way you learn. When you were going through this process, was one of those people that came to your mind, was that Robert Kiyosaki?
Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was a catalyst in this path. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for Robert Kiyosaki, and the way that he wrote about real estate was inspiring. It was very eye-opening to me. As I have grown in my career, I'll tell you that Kiyosaki does a good job of planting the seed, but he doesn't do a good job of showing you what happens next. And so
you're the second person I've heard to say that.
Oh yeah. I would love to chat with Kiyosaki at some point because I have a lot of respect for what he's done. Now I'm writing my first book and it's not as easy as it looks on TV. I tell you what. But he did a great job with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, from the opening where he talks about minting his own nickels to the end where he talks about writing $10,000 checks to inspire people to look at his offers. I mean, that was inspiring to me at a time when $10,000 was an unimaginable amount of money. Yeah. You know, when you're working to try to figure out how to make an extra couple $100 a month, and to have somebody say, yeah, let's inspire these guys to take our offer. So throw a $10,000 check on top of it and send it their way. See if they take it. Well, yeah, so I love Kiyosaki. I think he's great. As hindsight is better than 2020 because it gives you the benefit of perspective as well. I'll tell you that after you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you cannot stop reading. You have to go out and buy more books, and you have to listen to more audio books, and you have to keep cramming information into your mind. Because if you pick up one book and you assume that book is the gospel of everything there is, you're going to miss hard. So Kiyosaki's great. But another one that was kind of fun. Have you ever heard of Carlton Sheets?
Oh, Carlton Sheets was the man back in the like 90s. He come on late night, and I think I bought his program in 91. That tells you how old I am.
So Carlton Sheets had a little different spin on real estate. And to this day, I own a real estate company now, and I own several copies of his CD sets. And whenever I get a new guy who joins my company, I hand him a copy of Carlton Sheets's CDs, and I say, you need to listen to these. Now, the new kids, they pick up their iPhones, like, where does this disc go? But there are ways to overcome that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you have to. You're like, you can rip this down and put it on your iPhone.
No, man, Carlton Sheets, he talked about no money down. He did a great job with that. Different approach than Kiyosaki, right? I've read Deals on Wheels. I've read everything by Grant Cardone. Grant's having a lot of fun with what he does, and he does multi-gazillion-dollar projects. My take on real estate's a little more simple than that. I like simplicity.
That's what I want to hear. Tell me that. And this is why. Because so often people who have information, they sell you the suite of information, which means I'm going to give you the piece to bring you in, but I'm going to make sure that you keep eating from my table. So it's not a catch and release. It's a catch and put you in the tank. I'm going to make the tank bigger so you grow bigger, but you're still in a tank. So what makes you different, and what's your why for sharing the knowledge?
Awesome question. You're good at this. You should have your own show.
Yeah, you think?
I'm about to tell you everything I know about real estate. All right. Your listeners need to grab something to write with, because I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know.
All right.
There are 3 rules to real estate, guys. 3 rules only. And if you master these 3 rules, you will be very good at real estate investing. The first rule is location. You have to buy properties in a good location. The second rule is location. You have to buy properties in a location that makes sense. The third rule is location. If you follow those 3 rules, location, location, and location, don't skip any of them, you're going to do pretty well in real estate. No, man, it's very simple. So taking a step back, I ask people why. I say, why are we having this conversation? And you can't get into the what and the how until you identify your why.
Yeah. And
so if I can mention my website here, right?
Of course.
So I've got an online workshop called Blackwell Workshop, where I unpack this. I've got a YouTube channel and all that. We've got a free version. We've got a paid version. Free version tells you everything I'm about to tell you right now, only in a lot more detail. The paid version, I do it with you, and I'll show you how to do it. But the question is really simple. How much money do you want to make each month to live the lifestyle you want to live? What's the name of your podcast? Billionaire Lifestyle, right? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you that most people cannot fathom how to spend or allocate the kind of money that they would need to live a billionaire lifestyle, because they're not there yet.
Actually, that's what's funny, because this is not about money. The billionaire lifestyle is not about money, which we'll get to in the end. But most people, and this is going to be a divergence here. I see these things. You can make 6 figures. You can make this. Depending on where you live, you don't even need 6 figures.
Amen.
A lot of times, a good 5-figure income is abundance. But we live in a society that's built off capitalism, which means you have to constantly spend and be in debt for the country to actually prosper. So people have been, excuse me, mind fucked in looking at the shadows as real things. So that's one of the things I talk about. I know what my number is. If someone was to say to me, Emmett, how much money do you need to make per month for you to be happy and situated? And it's not a big number. Because
that's where I start, man. And I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And when I didn't say how much money do you want to make? I said, how much money do you want to make to live the lifestyle you want to live?
That's what I'm saying.
For me, I want my house paid off. I don't want a mortgage payment. Don't want a rent payment. I want my cars paid off. I don't want any car debt. I don't want any credit card debt. I want to pay cash for things. I want to be the last Slattery on my branch of the family tree to ever have debt. I've had debt. I have debt now. Within the next 8 years, I will be debt free, except possibly some of my investment real estate. But no man will be able to come to me and say that I owe them money. And that's what I want. I want to be able to go home at night and know that my house, my home, where my wife and my children live is secure. That's what I want. I want to travel once a quarter. That may sound like something insane, but I want to travel. I want to go on a quality trip with my family at least once a quarter. And I want one of those trips to be with just my wife, someplace memorable. I took my wife to Paris 2 years ago. It was amazing. And that's the life I want to live. I know what my number is. And I've built a portfolio of real estate that provides that income even through these turbulent times with COVID and all the insecurity in the economy. We're doing fine. And it's not because I got lucky. I've got the scars to show that I've done this the hard way. And my goal, you ask why I'm doing this, I want to show other people it's completely doable. And I can show them how to avoid some of the arrows and some of the pitfalls that I've hit along the way.
So what about credit ratings? Duns and Bradstreets. A lot of people don't even know what Duns and Bradstreet is. A lot of people don't even know how to manage their credit. Like my credit rating jumps between 740 and 810, depending on what I'm doing. So, and I talked to my friends and they're like, how did you get that? I was like, I studied the system.
Can I blow your mind right now and tell you that I own 2 12-unit apartment buildings. I own 2 office buildings. I own, I guess, total 25 units and a couple of office buildings. And we're growing our business into multiple states now. So I'm going to have to buy a couple of other offices for that. I have not used my credit once.
Shut the front door.
That's 100% true. The way that I've structured my debt is I look for advantageous situations, right? I'm not saying that most of my clients use credit, but most of my acquisitions, all my acquisitions over the past 5 years have been in situations where I brought in a little bit of money down and the sellers carried back debt on the property. And so the seller became my bank, and never once have they asked me for a credit report.
So that's kind of like, there's a term for that. I can't think of what it is that they use.
Seller finance.
Yeah, seller finance. And I think there's an option. I can't think of the name of it, but it's become really popular in the last couple of years where people are promoting it or in different avenues they're promoting it. But that's
just one option, man. There's all kinds of ways to put these things together. So, Emmett, if I'm unpacking this for your listeners, let me just run through this real quick.
Do that.
I've got a 7-step process that I was being a little cheeky with the location, and I'm twisting your guys' tail a little bit, but I'm going to tell you, you buy into bad location, if you skip one of those rules, you are done. You're going to have a hard time in this industry. So what do? We actually teach. Why do I do this? There are 4 steps to success, right? The first step, think of steps on a staircase, right? The first step is called survival. That is where you are living hand to mouth and you are just scraping to get by. That's an uncomfortable place to be. And for everybody watching this or listening to this, I will tell you, I remember that. I taste it. I know how that feels. The second step up is called stability. Stability, you're still kind of living paycheck to paycheck, but at least you're stable, right? You got your job, you know what your budget is, you got your rent being paid, or you bought a house and you got your mortgage being paid. You are not recession proof, but you got some stability. The third step up is called success. And success is where you're making your money, you've got your toys, and you're probably not completely economic recession proof, but you're doing okay. And unfortunately in America, that's where most people stop. They reach a point in their mind of success to where I've got all my toys and you know, whatever, everything will be fine.
Right.
The problem is there's a fourth step. And the fourth step is called significance. And when you reach that fourth step, that's where, yeah, you're doing okay financially, but it's not about money. It's about how can I raise up people around me? How can I show everyone else what I've learned and how to avoid some of the pitfalls I've hit so that other people can achieve their version of success as well. And I'm not going to say I'm there, but Emmett, that's where I'm trying to get to. That's where I want to be. And so I am working outside of just Robert world, and I'm working on training other people on how to accomplish the same thing the way I've done it, because it's completely doable. You don't need to have a lot of money. You can start off wherever you're at. I have clients. I got a 20-year-old kid who bought a 12-unit apartment building last year, 20
Wow.
years old, on my team. Okay. The kid has a goal of making 10 million a year. Divide 10 million a year by 12 months, come out to 800,000 a month in income, right?
Yeah.
So 833 a month, right?
So when did you decide that, I've gotten my process down and I'm looking for a timeline. When did you say, all right, I need to go to that next step where I shared this with the world? When was that revelation?
Wow, dead air. Sorry about that.
No, man.
That's a good question.
I mean, and I say this particularly because we are two men, and I hate to say it like this, but I like keeping things real. There's a definition to our biology, our firmware, and men have a thing in their life where they go from one point to another, and it's a definable moment. And there's several of them. It depends on whether you're talking about your spirituality, whether you're talking about your finances, whether you're talking about relationships. You have those moments. I got to quit drinking so much beer. I need to get married. That girl's a good girl. Boom, good. I need to quit spending so much money on dumb stuff. I need to start saving in my 401k. Done. You know what I'm saying? So there was a moment where you were like, okay, I've kind of hit my stride where my goal that I talked to or thought about back in the early 2000s, what's the next step, like you said? And you said, I need to share. This is biblical. This is all the teachings say you should become a teacher as you age. And you hit that point. That's why I'm just trying to find out, when was that point or that series of months where you were like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do next?
I'll tell you, I've tried doing my workshop in the past in a live format. And in February of this year, I was scaling up a portion of my business to grow here in the Puget Sound region. And we were about ready to hire a whole bunch of new staff, and things were getting kind of scary financially. And then COVID shut everything down like that.
Yeah, it did.
And about that time, I had met a man by the name of Pete Vargas. And Pete owns a company called Advance Your Reach. And his entire shtick is he teaches people how to tell their story on stages and get out and tell your story. Yeah. Similar to what we're doing here, okay? And I got tuned into Pete's programs and started learning from him. And what I realized was, this is humbling, man, but I was thinking too small. I was thinking way too small because I was just trying to grow my business and all that. And if you are telling me that there is a defining moment, I'll tell you where it was. It was in front of my computer early March when I made the decision to pull the plug on starting the other new division of our company because we couldn't have launched it with COVID. We couldn't have had people, we couldn't have staffed and had people working in close quarters. It wouldn't have worked. And instead, I devoted my time to really digging in and figuring out what my gift was and what I was trying to get out there. I am wildly passionate about teaching people how to get into real estate and how to replace their income so that they can take their gifts, take their passions, and give that back to the world. They can build up the community around them. That is what I want to see. I don't want someone working a job that they hate because they have to. I want people to figure out and learn that if they focus on allocating their money in smart ways, everybody needs to rent at some point in their life. Everybody needs a first apartment. And those are what I focus on. I'm not buying big high-rise buildings. I'm not buying luxury apartments. I'm buying entry-level housing because my tenants are the gal who makes your Starbucks in the morning, or the young man who pumps your gas, or the kids that work at Walmart that are bagging your groceries. Those are my tenants. They usually need a roommate to pay their rent, right? To be able to make rent. My argument is pretty simple. If you buy a property that is a property that you'd be willing to live in, and you make it available to somebody at a reasonable rate, whatever the market rate is, at a reasonable rate, so they can live and they can have that first apartment experience with you, they'll do it. And they will give you money every month. And now it's just a math problem. How do I figure out if a property makes sense for me to buy and get ahead? Because after those tenants move out, some other tenants are going to move in. And so now it's just a math problem. Okay. I need to make A plus B plus C equals my monthly amount. That's all it is. That's why I named the book Math Wins, because no matter how you slice and dice it, math always wins.
And that's why you come down to why you said initially, because we had this conversation before we went on air. Location, location, location. So what about tenants? You know, for most of the people who are landlords, and even if you look at the news today, you hear with COVID, you hear about tenants, especially with commercial properties and large scale items. How is that situation? Because that might be scaring some people from actually becoming entrepreneurs in the real estate market.
And that's what we teach about, right? At the workshop, we go through all that. You'll hear in the industry, tenants, toilets, and taxes, right? Those are the big 3 T's that people are afraid of. And I just put it like this, man, this business is real easy until you get people involved. But hey, if you go through the steps that we first thing, figure out your why. Second, you got to get your money right. Before you even talk about getting tenants, you have to have your money right. Okay. And we talk about that. I can't dig that. That is a full hour just talking right there about getting your money right. The section of my second book, I'm already outlining it. Okay. Get your money right. Third, we talk about what real estate is and what real estate is not. Then we start talking about looking for properties and analyzing properties. After we figure out how to do that, we talk about how to write an offer and how to underwrite a property and make sure it makes sense. Only after you've been through all that is it time to sit down and figure out, what do you do about these tenants? Because tenants and property management, you do have to have a plan. If you don't have to have a plan, or if you don't have a plan, you're toast. You can't just set it and forget it, because as soon as you buy a property, things will start going wrong with it.
That was the next thing I was going to ask you about, including maintenance, because you're not going to do everything. You'd be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. Do you teach about that too, including that in your overall numbers scenario?
Absolutely. So we analyze properties based on 4 key metrics, right? We look at cash flow, which is the amount of money left over at the end of the month after you pay all the bills. We look at appreciation, and that's how much the property appreciates over time. It goes up in value over time. We factor for depreciation, which is a tax benefit, and we look at debt reduction. We buy everything with a 30-year fixed, and so just by benefit of your tenants making their rent payment to you and then you paying your mortgage, it lowers the balance on that loan every year.
Yeah.
You take all that into consideration, and net of paying for property management if you need it, net of paying for your maintenance, our typical clients making better than 25% on their money each year.
Oh,
and that might not mean anything to some people, but if I tell you that your average 401k is going to make 8 to 10% a year in a good year, 25% is a lot of money.
And with the way interest rates are now with banks, and people don't realize this, is that when we have historically low interest rates to the public, that means you're not making money on your money that's in the bank.
Right.
So one of the only things that you can get returns on is if you pick really good stocks or index funds, but even those are going to perform low because of the bank situation. But one thing that consistently gives you a good return on money if you do it correctly, and if you have someone like you to guide you to it, is real estate or selling used cars.
Yeah, that works too. That works too. No, man, it sounds daunting. It's really not as complicated as it seems. Anybody can do this. You don't have to be an expert day trader like a lot of stock guys. I don't have any money in the stock market. I don't trust the stock market at all. Yeah. I'm not an expert at analyzing stocks. One of my friends contacted me yesterday. He goes, "Hey, did you get on that IPO for, it's called Snow?" I don't know anything about it.
Right.
Well, it started at like $12.50 a share. And at the end of the day, it was like $75 a share. And he's like, "I just made a lot of money." And I'm like, "I'm happy for you. I don't need that. Yeah. What I need is consistency and stability. I can show somebody how to replace their income in usually about 7 years. That's not fast. It's not sexy.
That's still good.
If you can replace your income in about that time with rental properties automatically track with inflation. So your spending power doesn't change over time, right? People ask, what's a millionaire? I ask people all the time. They're like, "I want to be a millionaire." I say, "Cool, what's that mean?" And then it means you have $1 million. No, it doesn't. Nobody has $1 million sitting in a pile. Because if you had $1 million sitting in a pile, you would go up and start taking money out of it, and eventually the pile would go away.
Yep.
Think Las Vegas. No, man, if you have $1 million in real estate and it's producing rental income every month, let's say it's producing $5,000 a month. Well, rents go up as inflation goes up. And if you don't understand inflation, the dollar is losing value every year.
Yep.
At about 3 to 4% a year. Okay. So your spending power of your dollar changes every year. Well, because rents increase, if you own rental properties, your buying power is consistent year over year. So 10 years from now, if you just do nothing but let your properties take care of themselves, you're in a pretty good place. 20 years from now, you're still in a good place. Now you've built multi-generational wealth. That's the difference.
I have to ask you this though. Put a number on it. How much does someone need to get started in investing in real estate? Because that's one of the things that twirls around in someone's cranium. I don't have the money. Instead of saying I don't have the resources, but I'm just saying this for the typical person who is thinking about it, but doesn't know anything. So what does it take?
Typical person, listen to me right now. Pull out your phone and I'm going to give you a free gift. Name of my company is Blackwell. I named it after this building I'm standing in. It's called the Blackwell building, Blackwell Mansion.
You know, that sounds like an ops like an ops operation. Like, all right, Blackwell.
Wet work to supplement the budget here, but no, Blackwell. So go to blackwellgift.com/billionaire. Go to blackwellgift.com/billionaire. And I've got a free gift there for you. Because I'm going to do two things. Number one is I'm going to give you a free report that talks about the 5 big mistakes people make when they're first buying rental properties. And the second thing I'm going to do for you is if you want to sign up for my class, I'll have a link there. I will include a link to the free version of my workshop. But if you want to meet me and if you want to go through this, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to have any money to get started. What you need is a plan. I got 2 brothers. One was a Marine, one was a Navy guy. All you military guys out there just threw jokes at both of them, and that's fine. These 2 brothers just bought a 4-plex with nothing down out of their pockets because they came to me and they said, "We want to be wealthy someday. We grew up in a very meager household and very lower class. I mean, they scraped by." Yeah. They said, "We're both former military. We want to get ahead." And so they bought this 4-plex with nothing down thanks to the VA. I told you the story of that 20-year-old kid who just bought an apartment building. 20 years old. He hasn't made any money. He's a year out of high school.
Yeah.
Okay. So go to blackwellgift.com/billionaire. And if you want to go through my full workshop, it's a $997 course. I'll take 50% off that cost because you listen to my good friend Emmett here.
All right.
Okay. So that information is there for you. And the answer is, Emmett, it doesn't take money takes a plan. You got to manage your money. You got to manage what money comes in. You can't just go out and spend it all. But if you have the plan, I can show you how to make it happen. And I'll show you how to build the plan so you can make it happen. Start to finish. Anybody can do this.
Awesome. Now we're going to go back. We're going to go back in time. We're going to do a Black Street. We're going to go back, way back in time.
Way back.
So I want you to close your eyes, my friend. So you're sitting on your couch, right? Right now, you're sitting on your couch, you're chilling, probably watching some Netflix. You got some time to chill out. No family's bothering you or nothing. Just got time to yourself. Sitting in your house, and all of a sudden, doorbell rings, and you get up and you go to the door, and to your utter amazement, there sits the 21-year-old you. And he says, dude, you're doing good. What do I need to know right now to get to where you are just a little bit faster?
I may have just slapped him. Yeah, actually, my hand hurts right now. I tweaked my shoulder right there. I may have just clocked him. I'm going to tell you, man.
He just wants to make the journey easier.
I would buy this book and hand it to him.
That is a good book.
And I would say, do not touch credit cards ever, ever. And I tell this to my children today. My children are 6, 8, and 10. Never use a credit card. Get rid of them. Go into your wallet, cut them. And if you need to carry plastic, carry debit cards. I carry 2 debit cards, y'all. I carry a bank, a work debit card, and I carry a personal debit card. And that's it. That's all. And the reason why is because the system wants to get you drunk on free credit, on free money. The way that the United States economy is built is, ooh, you're getting me on a tangent here.
Let's go. Let's kick it.
All right. You want to really make your head explode, read The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's a book about that thick. It'll tell you exactly how the monetary system in our country is designed to get you in debt. Okay. And the way it works is you go and you get a job and you're making money and you're working your butt off and you want to make money because you want to get ahead and you want to buy that Lambo someday and you want to live in a big house and have, a shower that fits 15 people and whatever your thing is, right?
Tell them about it.
And then they take taxes out of your paycheck and you're like, whoa, that's not right. And you're looking at your paycheck, which is now about 3/4 of what you thought it should be. Yep. And then you decide, I need to go get the newest iPhone. So you go and you get an iPhone 11 and you're like, wow, here's my iPhone 11. And you don't have $1,200 for your iPhone 11. But Apple says, don't worry. We will let you take that iPhone home today. And all we're going to do is charge you $28 a month. Oh, but don't forget the $17 a month in insurance and the $50 a month for service plan. So all in, and taxes and fees and all that. It'll be $112 a month, but you can have that iPhone today. And now you got your iPhone
for 36 months.
And then you go out and you're like, I don't want to ride the bus. And so you go across the street to like the used car lot. And they say, don't worry, you don't need $5,000 to buy this used car. You can walk out the door today with nothing more than a signature, but each month we're going to take $300 a month out of your budget.
At 28%.
Pretty soon, and then all of a sudden your paycheck feels smaller. So then you work harder. And that, my friends, is called the rat race. So you want to get me fired up. That I hate the rat race. That gets me fired up. So you asked me, talking to the 21-year-old version of myself, after he stands up off the ground, because I did just deck him, I say, get your money right. Stop trying to act rich and start getting rich. Because as soon as you stop trying to impress everyone around you and you say, well, let's see, what do I need? You made a great point, Emmett. You said you don't need a 6-figure income in most situations. You need to figure out what's important to you to live the lifestyle you want to live and put a number on that and go out and make it happen. That's my passion, man. So 21-year-old me was addicted to free money. I was addicted to credit cards. At one point, I had $15,000 to $20,000 in credit card debt.
Yep.
I had no income. I lost my job. I had creditors calling me every day.
I had that too.
Until my phone got shut off because I couldn't pay my phone. My phone was shut off long enough that I lost my phone number that I had. You want to talk to the 21-year-old version of me? I wasn't real impressed with them. So why am I out talking to people about this? Because there's such a better way than what 21-year-old me tried to do it.
Awesome. So how can people find you?
Hit me up at the blackwellgift.com/billionaire. I will have all my contact information there. I'm happy to interact with any of your listeners and show them how to get started.
What about Facebook?
Facebook.com/ let's see, Roberts. Oh, what is my thing? I'm going to have to put my link on there, man. I don't know. I've got a shortcut there.
I'll put it in.
You know, you can hit me at robertslattery.com. All my socials are linked right there. That's my main site. So Robert, Slattery, robertslattery.com. And all my socials are linked there. So you can hit me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Are you doing any Zoom meetings, Microsoft Teams? Are you doing anything to interact with the public during this changing?
I do.
Diaspora?
I do. I will. I ask people to email me first and have an initial conversation. My schedule gets booked a couple weeks out in advance. And so you can hit me at robertscalendar.com and see if you can find a time there.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Appreciate the opportunity. This has been interesting. This is great. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we wrap up. I remind you of what the truth really is, not your perception, what the truth was before you got to the planet. Let me put it to you this way. You are a billionaire. You were a billionaire 30 days after your inception. I'll explain it to you. A little tadpole with a tail swam up into your mom and met some little biological material that she had, and those two started a little cosmic dance. So it was 2, it was 4, it was 8, it was 16, it was 32, and that went on for 30 days. At 30 days, you were over 1 billion cells. You hadn't hit the planet yet, so you are a billionaire. Quit tripping and laying value on things that man has created. That's called money. It's only a resource, and it is a new resource at that, because before this time, we used to just barter. Whatever talent you had, I used that, and whatever talent I had, I gave it to you. And so we created value from each other versus giving value to some man-made textile. Here's the other thing. You have to understand and know thyself. You have to understand and love thyself. Here's what you need to do. We are conditioned. We are blown out. Our tires are flat. I need you to pump air back into them. So the next time you go into the shower, when you come out, I need you to revel in what you are. And that is, I need you to drop your towel, be naked, be nude, be as you came to the planet. And I need you to sashay over to the mirror. And I need you to wipe the fog off the mirror. And I need you to just sit there and bask in your glory. Period. That's your God body. That's what you were born. I want you to get close to the mirror, and I want you to look in the eye that's looking back at you in the mirror. It looks like a nebulae in the sky. As above, so below. If you start out way out in the universe, all you see is dots. If you start to come in, you get a little more detail. And if you go deep into us, all you see is dots. Those are cells comprising the self. Get it? Cell. So when you meet another individual who has nebulae in their eye like yours, that is like the one in the sky, treat them with love, honor, and respect. And remember, they are a billionaire too. Till next time, love you all. Peace.